Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. Why does she have to come here tonight? That was the first thing Ethan said. Not hi, not thanks for dinner, just that, I'm Maya 30 and I still set the plates down like everything was normal. It's one dinner, I told him. My voice sounded fake even to me. You said you'd try. He pushed his chair back a little, not enough to get up, just enough to show me he wanted to. His jaw moved like he was chewing words he did not want to spit out yet. I said I'd be civil, he muttered. That's not the same thing. I ignored that or pretended to. I picked up my phone, opened our group chat, and typed that everything was ready. The little typing bubble from Riley appeared almost instantly, like she had been waiting. On my way, she wrote heart emoji, of course. I locked my phone and set it face down. That felt pointless because Ethan had already seen the screen light up. His eyes dropped to it, then back to me. No comment. That silence felt worse than a fight. You literally promised, I said. I hated how whiny it sounded. You told me you'd make an effort with her. He rubbed his forehead, slow, tired. I promised, so you drop it, Maya, that's it. That hit hard. I laughed once, sharp and thin. So you lied, great, that makes me feel amazing right now. He looked at me then, really looked. You keep shoving her into our life, what do you want me to do with that? I wanted him to say something like, I'll try, I care about you, anything. Instead, the doorbell rang and cut the whole thing in half. My stomach jumped, too late to cancel, too late to fix my face. I forced a smile and walked to the door while Ethan stayed in his chair like his body had roots. I opened the door and Riley just swept in, big grin, big energy. She hugged me fast, almost crashing into me. She smelled like some expensive thing that always made me feel cheap, and yes, that changed how I held her. Hey, wife of the year, she laughed. I can smell dinner already, look at me, I am so spoiled. I stepped back to let her in. You're right on time, I said. Ethan's at the table. She glanced toward him and her smile shifted just a touch. She lifted a hand in a little wave. Hey, stranger. He stood up slow. Hey. His voice was polite and flat, not warm, not rude, that in-between tone that drives you insane because you cannot read it. Riley walked over and set the bottle of wine on the table. I brought this to bribe you into liking me. He almost smiled, almost. You'd need more than one bottle for that. She laughed like he told the best joke. I laughed too because that is what I do, make things light, pretend the air is not heavy. Okay, I said, everybody sit, let's eat before this turns into a boxing match. We sat, Ethan across from Riley, me between them like a referee who also cooked. I handed plates around, trying not to notice how he avoided brushing her fingers. Riley started talking immediately, work drama, some coworker who messed up a project. Her voice bounced around the room, filling every empty space. I nodded, asked questions, tried to pull Ethan in. What would you do, I asked, if someone at work blamed their mess on you? He cut a piece of food, took his time chewing, then finally answered. I'd stop telling people every detail of my life at the office. That landed wrong, I felt it. Riley blinked, then smiled wider. Wow, direct, love that for you. I shot him a quick look, kind of a warning, not a full glare. Back then I still believed I could coach them into liking each other. So, Riley shifted. How's the home improvement going? Did you guys finish the bedroom yet? Ethan's fork scraped the plate. We're fine, he said, short. We figure stuff out in private. My face heated because I knew exactly what she meant. She was poking at an argument we had last week, one I had stupidly vented to her about. I tried to laugh it off. She's just asking, I said. Relax, we survived the whole thing, didn't we? Riley leaned on her elbow. You told me someone slept on the couch 3 nights in a row. That did not sound like surviving. Ethan's eyes snapped to me, sharp. You told her that. The room went tight. My heartbeat sounded louder than the clink of silverware. I felt like a kid caught gossiping in class. I vented, I said, my voice dropped. To my best friend, that's normal. Normal, he repeated. Cool, good to know our fights are content now. Riley lifted both hands a little. Hey, I was on your side, man. I told her she should have given you a break. I am not the enemy here. That word stuck, enemy. It hung between them like one of them had to pick it up. I jumped in fast. Nobody is the enemy, we're just having dinner, can we please not argue in the first 20 minutes? Ethan laughed once, no humor in it. I said this was a bad idea before she even got here. Riley's eyes flashed, and I said I'm not backing off just because you dislike me, that would be weird. I could feel the night slipping, like sand. Through my fingers, I reached for my glass and took a sip I did not even taste. Okay, I said, reset, everyone gets a reset right now please. For a second it worked, they both looked down at their plates, chewed, breathed, the noise in my head quieted by one notch. So, I tried again. We watched that new show last night, the one everyone is obsessed with. Riley, you still on episode 2? She perked up. Yeah, I fell asleep halfway through. You two binge everything like it's your job. Ethan focused on his food. Nice to know what we do in bed is part of the group chat. I kicked his leg under the table, not hard, a little warning. He glanced at me, then back at his plate. Riley shook her head. Come on, she just said you stayed up late. I am not getting a live feed of your sex life. The word hit like it always does when things are already tense. Sex, right there on the table with the napkins and the glasses and all the things I was trying to keep balanced. I swallowed. Can we talk about literally anything else? Sure, Riley said, her tone softened. How are you, Ethan, like actually? That threw him, I saw it. He paused, fork in midair. I'm fine. Fine is fake, she said. You can do better than fine. My chest tightened because that was my line, that was how I talked to him. Suddenly it came out of her mouth instead. I worked all day, he said. I came home, now I'm here, that is the story. She tilted her head. And in this story, am I the villain or the annoying comic relief? His lips twitched, there was almost a smile. It annoyed me that I noticed. Depends on the day, he said. Today is not looking great. I laughed too loudly. Riley watched me, then leaned back in her chair with this lazy confidence that made me feel like the awkward one in my own home. You know what I think, she said. I think you two are both stubborn and I am stuck in the crossfire. My hand tightened around my glass. Nobody asked you to be stuck anywhere. She looked at me a little surprised. You did, actually, you invited me, you told me you wanted us to be closer. That was true, I hated that it was true. I felt Ethan's eyes on me again. He set his fork down. Yeah, why did you want that so badly? Because you are my husband, because she is my best friend, because I wanted my life to line up neatly like a picture on a wall. I did not say any of that. I just thought it would make things easier, I said, my voice dropped at the end, for me. Ethan leaned back in his chair, honest answer finally. The air shifted, I could feel both of them waiting to see what I did next, like I was the one on trial now. Riley reached for the wine. Well, for what it's worth, I am trying. I could have stayed home and ordered takeout and watched my show alone. I came here because you matter to her. The way she said you, it was too direct, too intimate. I saw Ethan catch it too, his shoulders stiffened just a tiny bit. I never asked you to come, he said. She did. And I don't regret that, I cut in. My stomach churned, but I kept going. If we're going to be in each other's lives, we can't keep pretending the other person doesn't exist. Riley nodded quickly. Exactly, thank you, finally some sense. Ethan looked at me, not at her. I could have kept pretending just fine. There it was, the line, hard and plain, no joke around it this time. I felt something sharp rise in my chest. You dislike her that much. He hesitated, then shook his head once. I don't trust her, that is worse. Riley's chair scraped a little. Wow, okay, that's intense. He kept his eyes on me, not even acknowledging her reaction. She treats our marriage like a show, she asks about our fights like it is entertainment, she twists things and you let her. My face burned. I tell her things because I need someone to talk to, that doesn't mean she is twisting anything. Riley let out a small laugh, nervous. I literally just listen, that is all, if you two argue that's not my fault. That's the point, Ethan said. You're always there for the aftermath, never for the impact, you get the story, you don't get the damage. I stared at him, my fork hovered above my plate. So what, you want me to cut her off just like that? He took a breath. I want you to stop forcing me to sit here and play nice with someone who keeps pushing at the edges of our life. That is what I want. My throat felt tight, I knew I should have paused, thought, instead I reacted. You're being dramatic, I shot back. You decided you hate her and now everything she does is evil to you. He laughed softly, no humor. Right, I am the problem, got it. Riley dragged her fingers along the stem of her glass. I did not come here to blow up your marriage, she said. I swear I came because I thought this would help. I could hear the hurt in her voice, or maybe I just wanted to. Either way, it pulled me toward her. This is exactly what I meant, I snapped at him. You never even gave her a chance. From the start you wrote her off. His eyes flashed, and you never gave me a choice. You kept pushing and pushing until we ended up at this stupid table. We stared at each other over the plates, over the food I suddenly had no appetite for. I knew deep down I had backed him into this. I still kept pushing. You're my husband, I said, the words came out shaking. She is my best friend. I refuse to live in some weird split life where I have to hide one from the other. I'm not doing that. So instead, he said, voice low, you put us together and hope one of us changes. I swallowed. I hope you both do, a little. He nodded once, slow, then he dropped his gaze to his plate again. Fine, I tried. This is me trying. The way he said it felt like the opposite of trying. Still, I grabbed onto the word like a lifeline. Thank you, I said, that is all I wanted. That was a lie. I wanted them to laugh together, to share memes later, to make my life smoother. I dressed it up as compromise. The rest of dinner limped along, small talk, awkward jokes, Riley carefully avoiding any mention of our arguments, Ethan answering in short, clean sentences that gave nothing extra. I got up to clear the plates. That gave me something to do with my hands, something to focus on instead of the buzzing in my head. Leave it, Riley called, I'll help in a minute. I got it, I said, you guys talk, I'll be quick. As soon as the words left my mouth, my chest clenched. You guys talk. I had been begging for that all night and suddenly it scared me. I carried the dishes into the kitchen. I turned on the water more for the noise than the cleaning. I could hear them faintly from the other room, voices low and blurred. For a few seconds I just stood there, hands in the sink, heart racing. Part of me wanted to walk back in and sit down again, to keep control of the conversation, to keep them from teaming up against me, or maybe from finally understanding each other without me in the middle. I stayed where I was. When I came back, Riley was laughing at something. Ethan had a small, tight smile. It vanished when he saw me, but I had seen it, that tiny crack in his resistance. What did I miss? I asked. Nothing, Riley said, too fast, just telling him he should stop thinking I bite. My eyes flicked between them. Ethan picked up his glass. We were talking about boundaries, he said. Apparently I have some. Riley rolled her eyes. You have walls, not boundaries, major difference. They both looked at me then, waiting, testing. I felt weirdly outnumbered in my own place. I forced another smile. I had lost count of how many I had forced that night. See, I said, this is good, this is progress. I believed it in that moment, or I forced myself to. I needed to believe I had not ruined the whole night. Later, after dessert and more careful small talk, Riley stood near the door with her keys in her hand. Text me later, she told me. I want the post-game recap. I hugged her. There is no game, I said, we're fine. She pulled back and searched my face. If you say so. Ethan stayed a few paces away, hands in his pockets, watchful. She gave him a quick nod. Thanks for having me. He replied, Night, Riley. No extra word attached, no warmth, no ice, that frustrating middle space again. When the door closed behind her, the quiet hit hard. I turned to him, ready to say something neutral. He got there first. Last time, he said, I mean it. I did what you asked. I tried. I still do not like her, and I do not want nights like this again. I folded my arms. You are overreacting. He shook his head. You are not listening. I opened my mouth to argue, to convince, to push just a little more. Then I saw his face. The tired lines, the disappointment that was not aimed at Riley anymore, it was aimed at me. I'm going to bed, I said. We can talk tomorrow. He stayed in the kitchen. I walked down the hall, every step heavy. I closed the bedroom door and leaned against it for a second, swallowing hard. Through the wall, I heard a soft buzz. My phone lit up on the nightstand with a new message from Riley. In the kitchen, a chair scraped. Ethan moved. For a heartbeat, they were both awake at the same time in the same space with me shut away. Back then, I told myself I had done the mature thing. I got in bed, pulled the blanket up, and tried to sleep over the sound of my own second guessing. I had no idea that this stupid dinner was the first real crack in everything. I created the group chat 5 minutes after that dinner ended. My hand shook a little while I typed the name. I picked something goofy and harmless, something that looked like a joke so it would not feel like pressure. I added Ethan. I added Riley. I dropped in a dumb meme before I could overthink it. My phone buzzed almost right away. Riley reacted first with a line of laughing emojis, then another meme on top of mine. She threw in a dramatic "we survived family dinner." I snorted despite myself, even though a part of me flinched at the word family. Ethan answered last, just one word, "cute." No emoji, no follow-up. It felt like he walked into a party and nodded from the doorway, then stayed near the exit. I stared at the screen, waiting for more from him. Nothing else popped up. I typed, deleted, then tossed in a stupid question about everyone's week. Riley wrote a whole rant about deadlines. Ethan responded with busy, and that was it. In my head, this was still progress. They were at least in the same digital room. I kept feeding the chat every day, a short video in the morning, a link at lunch, a quick look at this chaos after work. I treated it like a plant that would die if I stopped watering it. At first, they only really spoke through me. I would send something, Riley reacted with a long message, and Ethan replied to my sentence instead of hers. I watched the pattern like a crazy person, counting how often he used her name. One night, I threw out a question on purpose. "If you had to pick a movie for all three of us, what would you pick?" Riley answered with some wild horror thing. I replied with a romantic comedy. Ethan came in with anything without jump scares. No smiley face, just that. "See," I texted, "common ground, you both hate getting startled." I tried to make it playful. I tried to act like a referee who just found a shared rule. Riley responded with, "He hates everything I like, that is his personality." A minute later she added, "Relax, I am kidding, calm your face, Ethan." I held my breath watching the typing bubble appear under his name. He finally wrote, "My face is calm, you two are chaotic." He dropped a single eye roll emoji after that. It was small, but it felt like a crack in the wall. I laughed alone in the kitchen when I read it, out loud, like a weirdo. I told myself this meant things were softening. I screen grabbed the thread to send back to myself, then stopped because that felt insane. Over the next few days, the balance shifted a little. It was slow, so I nearly missed it. At first, Ethan only appeared when I spoke, then he started popping up in the chat even when I had not started it. One afternoon, I was swamped and forgot to message them at all. When I finally checked my phone, there were 12 unread messages in the group. None from me, just them. Riley had posted a picture of something messy at her job. "Look at this disaster, I quit." Under it, Ethan had written, "This is nothing, you should see my inbox." She replied, "Send pics or it is not real." He sent a screenshot of a ridiculous email thread. I scrolled through their back and forth with this weird feeling in my chest. On the surface, it was harmless. Two people complaining about their workday, no flirting, no secret love notes. Still, my stomach tightened. I jumped in with a late "Wow, you guys are chaotic," just to remind them I existed. Riley immediately replied, "Look who finally joined us." Ethan did not respond to that part. He just reacted with a thumbs up to my message and vanished again. That tiny detail stuck with me. He acknowledged me, then pulled back. They had already done the main talking without me. I told myself I was reading too much into it. I do that a lot, by the way. At home, I tried to turn the group chat into real plans. "We should try that new place," I wrote one evening. "All three of us, drinks and snacks this weekend." I waited like it was a job interview. Riley answered first with a dramatic "I am in, always." Then she added, "Unless Ethan is still allergic to me." I laughed at that, even though my shoulders tensed. Ethan took longer. When the typing dot finally appeared under his name, I watched it like it was a lifeline. He wrote, "If we go, no talk about our arguments, that is the rule." Then after a pause he added, "I will show up, once." I stared at the words, "I will show up." It felt like a win. I screenshotted that line like a maniac. In my mind, this was him stepping forward, not him setting a trap with conditions I was about to ignore. That night on the couch, I leaned against him and brought up the outing again. You really meant it, I asked, about going out with her and me. He kept his eyes on the screen. I keep my word. His hand tightened around the remote. You just do not always like what I say. I nudged his shoulder. You are doing the right thing. I know you do not feel like it, but you are. I realized how patronizing that sounded as soon as it left my mouth. His jaw clenched. Do not talk to me like I am a child. You finally got to eat vegetables. He clicked the volume higher. You wanted a friend date, I agreed, that is all. I shut up after that, but my brain did not. I kept replaying his annoyed tone and my chirpy one. I keep noticing now how often I steamrolled because I hated sitting in discomfort. The group chat kept growing anyway, little exchanges stacked up. Riley tagged him directly. More often, Ethan, what do you think about this show? Ethan, please confirm that your wife is dramatic. She turned him into a recurring character in our little online world. At first he dodged those, then he started returning fire. Leaving work now, she wrote one day. Pray for me, he replied. You chose that job, no prayers, only judgment. She reacted with a string of laughing faces and a wow harsh. I laughed reading it, then realized there was a new tone between them, not just forced politeness, not full friendship either, something like a running bit. I started playing along. Can you two not bully each other without me present, I wrote. I feel left out, Riley answered with, you are our boss, we are your chaotic employees. Ethan wrote, you are definitely HR, you love rules. I froze on that line, you love rules. It sounded simple, but it landed right in the sore spot from the dinner, the one where he accused me of forcing everyone into my neat picture. Wow, drag your wife in the group chat, very brave, I replied. I added a winking face to keep it light. Inside, my chest burned a little. The more they joked, the less I wanted to share actual problems there. I noticed that shift only when it was too late. Before, I used the chat to blow off steam. Now I hesitated before revealing anything personal because I did not want to hand them more material. One evening, I caught Riley at my place before Ethan got home. She flopped onto the couch and pulled out her phone immediately. He is funny in there, she said. You never told me he had a sense of humor. I frowned. He is funny with me all the time. It came out sharper than I meant. She glanced up. Relax, I mean in a different way, sarcastic and kind of deadpan. It works in texts. I watched her scroll. What did he say that impressed you so much? She smirked. The thing about your lists, she read it out loud. If she could marry a planner, she would, Riley snorted. That was savage. My stomach flipped. I remembered that exchange. I had laughed when I read it. Right then, hearing it from her mouth, it stung. I thought it was funny, I muttered. It is, she nudged my leg with her foot. Come on, you know you overdo it with the planning, own it. I swallowed down the defensive answer sitting on my tongue. I changed the subject instead. So, about Friday, you still good for our little outing? She rolled onto her back. As long as your man does not bail last minute, he gives that vibe. He will not, I shot back too fast. I swear, he agreed, he is in. I forced some confidence into my tone even though that doubt she planted dug in. That night I double-checked with him in the hallway. An ambush, yes, but I was anxious. You remember Friday, I asked, drinks with Riley. He pulled off his jacket without looking at me. I remember. You are still going. He paused. I said I would. He hung the jacket and walked toward the kitchen. Stop treating this like a test, I will fail. The words hit like a slap. I followed him anyway. I am not treating it like a test, I just know how you feel about her. He grabbed a glass. Then stop forcing us into situations where you can watch us like an experiment. His voice stayed low, which worried me more than yelling. I stood there, clutching the counter. It is not an experiment. I just think if you get used to each other, it will be less weird for everyone. He shook his head. You want to make your life easier and you are willing to ignore the cost for me. I opened my mouth, then closed it. There was no good comeback. He walked away before I found anything to say. The fridge hummed behind me, the only sound left in the room. Later, lying in bed, I grabbed my phone and pulled up the group chat again. I reread all those jokes, hunted for hidden edges. That is when I noticed something new. At the top of the chat screen there was a tiny line of text. Riley is typing. My pulse jumped. I watched the bubbles appear and vanish, then a new message popped. Random thought, she wrote. You two are hilarious together, you bicker like a sitcom couple. My brain stalled because I did not know which you two she meant. Before I could answer, Ethan replied, we argue because we live together, that is not comedy. No smiley face this time. Riley typed back, relax, I am just saying you match energy well. My chest tightened again at that phrase, match energy. I sat there in the dark, staring at the screen light on my face. I typed, I am the main character here, remember. I added a stupid star emoji. Riley answered with, always, we are side characters in the Maya show. Ethan dropped a single check mark reaction under that. No words, somehow that tiny symbol bothered me more than anything else. After that night, I started noticing a pattern in when they were active. When I was busy cooking or showering, my phone would buzz somewhere across the room. I would check later and see threads that bloomed while I was not watching. One Saturday afternoon, I left my phone on the table while I folded laundry. It vibrated non-stop. Curiosity finally pushed me back to it. There were 10 new lines in the chat. Riley had sent a clip from a stand-up set. This is you, she wrote under the bit about a controlling partner. Ethan had responded, I am not dying in a comedy bit with you. Then another line, though she does preach like that when she is stressed. My throat tightened reading that. I knew exactly which fights he meant, ones I had vented to Riley about, jokes I thought were private between me and her, now they were material between them. I jumped in with, wow, love that you two are bonding over my flaws. I tried to make it look playful, my chest hurt. Riley added a quick, relax, you know we adore you. Ethan did not write anything after that. He did not defend me, he did not argue either. The conversation just stopped, which somehow felt worse. Looking back, I should have taken that as the sign it was. The jokes were not just jokes anymore, they were little tests, little pushes, and I kept handing them more ammunition with every overshare. The real turning point came late one night. It was past midnight. I was half asleep, face buried in my pillow when my phone lit up on the table. I rolled over and squinted at the screen. There it was again. The group chat, Riley's name on a new notification. Under it, Ethan's name glowed too. I had not written a single thing that night. I opened it and scrolled. They were doing a live rant about some show they were both watching, not just a couple of messages, a whole stream. Riley, did you see that twist? I nearly threw my phone. Ethan, told you it got crazy in episode 5. Riley, you were right, do not get used to me saying that. Ethan, timestamped, I will print this. They even joked about saving proof. I lay there reading, feeling weirdly outside my own life. I had recommended that show to both of them. Somehow they ended up watching at the same pace without me. I typed, look at you two bonding past bedtime. My hands shook just a little. Silence for a beat, then Riley wrote, oh no, mom is awake. A laughing emoji after that. It was meant as a joke, it still knifed through me. Ethan answered, go to sleep, you have work early. No heart, no playful tone, just that. I stared at his words, go to sleep, like I was the one intruding on their moment, like I was interrupting. I kept the phone in my hand for a long time after the chat went quiet. The room looked the same, nothing dramatic happened, yet something had clearly shifted. That was the first night I realized they no longer needed me as the glue. They had their own rhythm now, built inside the very space I created to keep us together. The game night is still on. That is what I announced from the hallway, even though I already knew 2 people had bilayed. My phone still showed the last text on the screen. Sorry, something came up, have fun without us. My chest burned an inch, but my mouth went the other way. It will be nice with just 3, I added like I believed every word. From the kitchen, Ethan looked over his shoulder. 3, he repeated, his fingers tightened around the back of a chair. So it is me, you, and her. I walked in with the stupid snack plate I had already set up. Yes, I said, it will be easier, less noise, we will actually talk. I set everything down too hard and tried to style it out like I meant to. Inside, a voice was already whispering that this was a mistake. He watched me fuss around the table. You are doing it again, he said finally. You are trying to turn this into your little project. My jaw clenched. It is not a project, I answered. I just want two people I care about in the same room without it feeling like a court hearing. I heard how defensive I sounded and it made me dig in deeper. Is that really such a big ask? Ethan exhaled through his nose and dropped into a chair. She makes everything about our relationship a topic, he muttered. You bring her in, then wonder why I shut down. I marched over to him, folding my arms. One hangout, I insisted. We will play something, have some drinks, laugh a little. If it sucks, fine, you can complain forever. I will never ask again. Even now I know that was a lie on my tongue. He stared up at me, then shook his head once. You always move the goalpost, he said. You say it is one time, then there is the next reason and the next. His lips twisted. When this backfires, remember you were the one who pushed. Before I could answer, my phone chimed. Riley, outside, the message read, ready to lose every game. I swallowed the argument and flashed Ethan a tight smile. She is here, I said. My hand was already on the doorknob. Please just do not ice her out. He rubbed his forehead, not bothering to reply. That silence felt like a prediction, and I walked away anyway. Riley stood on the front step, ing on her heels like this was a party, not a minefield. Game night, she sang as she stepped in. Where are the other victims? They canceled, I said. I watched her face carefully. So it is just you, me, and Ethan. She lifted her brows. Tiny but mighty, she joked, or deeply awkward, we will see. Her gaze slid past me toward the kitchen. Is he already grumpy? He is fine, I cut in fast. Come on, we are starting. She nudged my shoulder as we walked. You always say he is fine right before he roasted me last time, she whispered. It was meant as a tease, but my stomach tightened anyway. Ethan stood when we entered, hands in his pockets. Riley, he greeted her, no eye roll, no smile either, that flat middle ground he loved. She strutted over and bumped his arm. Look at us hanging out, she said, you surviving so far. He glanced at me, then back at her. We just started, he answered. Give it time. His tone was dry, not outright hostile, and my brain rushed to classify that as progress. I clapped once. Okay, let us play something before you two turn this into a sarcasm contest, I said. The goal tonight is fun, remember. I started opening the board, hands moving quicker than my thoughts. We sat down facing each other, 3 corners of the table filled. I explained the rules out loud even though both of them could read. I needed noise, any noise, to cover the buzzing in my head. Riley leaned in. You two always do this, she said. You overthink the rules, then you crush everyone. She smirked at Ethan. I am not scared. He arranged his pieces with too much focus. You should be, he replied. She plays to win. His eyes flicked to me on that last word, and I could not tell if he meant the game or something else. For a little while it was almost normal. We moved pieces, we groaned when someone blocked us, we argued about tiny things that did not matter. I grabbed my phone once to check the time and saw new emails piling up. That is when the call came in. Work. My whole body tensed as soon as I saw the name on the screen. I breathed. I have to take this. I lifted the phone to my ear. Hello. My voice jumped an octave into professional mode. Riley rolled a token between her fingers. Seriously, she griped. In the middle of my victory. She was joking, but the timing sucked. On the line, my coworker launched straight into a crisis. My manager wanted something fixed tonight, right now. I listened, pacing a tight line beside the table. Can you handle it from home? They asked. We really need you on this. I glanced at Ethan and Riley. They watched me with completely different expressions, Riley curious, Ethan already annoyed. I can step out to the other room, I replied into the phone. Give me a second. I covered the mic. I have to handle something, I told them. Give me 20 minutes. Riley threw her head back. Work ruins everything, she groaned. We will just keep going without you. Ethan crossed his arms. Do you need me to look over anything? He asked quietly. It was the closest thing to support I had heard all night. I shook my head. No, it is fine. I just need to talk through some details and send an email, I said. My cheeks were hot with stress. You two can finish this round. Riley snapped her fingers. Perfect, she declared. Bonding time, go save the world, we got this. I hesitated in the doorway. It sounds ridiculous now, but that tiny beat felt crucial. Part of me wanted to drag the board with me and make them sit in silence until I returned. Go, Ethan urged, almost impatient. Handle what you need. He reached for his drink and looked away, dismissing me before I had really left. I stepped into the next room and closed the door most of the way, leaving it slightly cracked. That was my compromise between trust and paranoia. I sat down at the desk, laptop open, phone wedged between shoulder and ear. The call dragged. I typed fixes while my coworker talked, nodding at nothing. Every now and then, laughter drifted from the other room, muffled through the gap in the door. The first time I heard it, I smiled automatically. See, I told myself they are getting along. This is exactly what you wanted. That thought hit with this weird mix of relief and unease. Then it kept happening. Bursts of noise, overlapping voices, the quick back and forth rhythm of people in sync. I could not hear the words, just the tone, and my focus kept slipping from the screen. Can you update that section now? My coworker asked. We need it sent tonight. Yeah, I answered, fingers pausing on the keys. I am on it. I shook myself like I could scatter the thoughts sticking to my brain and forced my eyes back to the message. Another rush of sound came through the crack. This time I picked out my name, followed by Riley's laugh and Ethan's lower voice. I pressed the phone tighter to my ear, pretending that helped me ignore it, even though we both know it did not. The task final. Lie wrapped, you are a lifesaver, they told me. Thank you so much. I mumbled something polite and cut the call as fast as I could without sounding rude. I sat there a moment after the line went dead. The house hummed around me, normal and steady, but something inside me had sped up. I checked the time. I realized I had been gone almost half an hour. I could have gone back right away. I want to be honest about this part. I sat there and thought maybe a few more minutes alone together will make everything smoother later. I chose to stall. I scrolled my phone like a coward, opened an app, closed it, listened to them murmur and laugh again from the other room. Every sound dug into me and I still stayed planted. Eventually, even my denial burned out. I stood too fast, smoothed my shirt with damp palms and headed down the hall. The closer I got, the quieter they became, like they heard my footsteps. I pushed the door open with a bright "I am back" that felt stretched over something raw. Riley looked up first, her hand jerked away from where it rested near Ethan's arm just a fraction too quick. She plastered on a grin. Our hero returns, she announced. Did you fix capitalism? Ethan flicked one of the tokens on the board. We finished the round, he commented. His voice sounded calmer than before, relaxed, even. I took in the table. The game had moved forward more than I expected. There were empty glasses more than when I left. Their chairs had shifted closer at some point. What were you two laughing about? I asked, forcing my tone to stay light. I could hear you from the other room. Nothing, Riley answered, waving it off. Just trash talk. I was destroying him. She pushed her hair back and watched me a little too closely, gauging my reaction. Ethan's mouth twitched. You won 2 rounds, he said. Do not rewrite history. His eyes met mine for half a second, then dropped to the board again. I dropped into my seat and reached for my drink, noticing it had been refilled while I was gone. Someone had taken care of it for me. That should have felt kind, but my stomach twisted instead. So I asked, anything else I missed? I tried to keep it as a joke. It came out tight. Riley shot a quick glance toward Ethan before answering. We talked about the show from the chat, she said. He finally admitted the last episode blew his mind. You were right recommending it. Ethan ran a thumb along the edge of a card. We also agreed you spoil everything with your theories, he added. There was a hint of warmth in his tone, like they had already laughed about this before I walked in. I opened my mouth to fire back and caught myself. For a beat, I just looked at both of them, that small shared smirk, the way their bodies angled subconsciously toward each other instead of me. Good to know you reached a treaty while I was saving my job, I answered finally. I forced a laugh that landed wrong in my own ears. Riley leaned over the board. Come on, your turn, she urged. You have a lot to catch up on. We were not gentle. She grinned, but the way her fingers tapped against the table screamed nerves. The next few rounds changed in a way I did not have language for at the time. Before, Ethan and I usually teamed up without thinking. Now he and Riley fell into a rhythm faster. When I made a risky play, they both groaned in sync. When I made a mistake, they cracked the same kind of joke from two angles. It should have felt like friendly teasing. Instead, I kept feeling shoved out of my own little triangle. At one point, I tried to pull things back. "Okay, new rule," I announced. "No ganging up on me." I forced a grin to soften it. "You are winning," Riley protested. "You do not get sympathy and first place." She nudged Ethan. "Tell her." He nudged the board piece forward with one finger. "You set the rules," he replied. "We are just playing how you taught us." His gaze flickered up with that same almost smile he used earlier in the week over text. I swallowed. "Right, my fault for training you too well," I joked. Under the table, my leg could not stop bouncing. We wrapped up the game eventually. Riley stretched her arms over her head with a satisfied groan. "That was fun," she declared. "Look at us, we survived another night." Ethan stood and gathered empty glasses. "Nobody cried," he said. "That is apparently the bar now." He walked toward the kitchen without waiting for my reaction. Riley watched him disappear, then turned to me. "You two are actually cute when you are not freaking out," she murmured. "He loosened up a lot while you were in there, by the way." My pulse stuttered. "Oh yeah," I asked. "What changed his mind?" She hesitated just a flicker, then shrugged. "We just talked," she answered. "Nothing wild. He is not that scary once he stops acting like I am here to steal his oxygen." I searched her face. "You did not push him about us," I pressed. "Right." "I am not that reckless," she replied, her eyes sly. D away for a second before coming back. "I just told him I am not going anywhere, so he can either keep sulking or try to meet me halfway." He chose halfway. Be proud. I did not know where to put that. On one hand, it sounded like exactly what I claimed to want. On the other, the words "I am not going anywhere" rang way too loud in my head. Before I could unpack it, Ethan returned. "Is she calling a ride or am I walking her out?" he asked, towel slung over his shoulder. Riley popped up and grabbed her phone. "I already requested one," she answered, "but you can still escort me if you want an excuse to escape." She grinned like it was nothing. He glanced at me. "You good?" he asked. The question held two meanings and we both heard them. I forced my features into something neutral. "Sure," I replied. "Go, I will clean up in here." My voice sounded steady and far away. They headed toward the door together. I lingered in the dining room, pretending to stack pieces while I listened to the rise and fall of their conversation. Their tones stayed low, comfortable, almost soft. I drifted far enough to glimpse them through the front window. They stood closer than I expected, shoulders nearly touching. Riley laughed at something and swatted his arm. He looked down at her with that half-smile he used so rarely lately. A car pulled up. She leaned in to say something near his ear that I could not hear. His head dipped toward hers for a second, just enough to make my throat go dry. They parted, she climbed in, and the car rolled off. Ethan stayed on the sidewalk for a moment, watching the taillights fade, his hands deep in his pockets. I should have opened the door and waved. I should have broken that little bubble right then. Instead, I stayed in the shadowed room, holding a game piece I did not remember picking up and tried to pretend this was still exactly what I had wanted. I picked up his phone to check the time and it lit up in my hand. Ethan was in the shower, music running in the next room, completely unaware. I only wanted to see how late it was before I started nagging him about tomorrow. That was the story in my head anyway. The screen came alive before I could even tap it. A banner slid down from the top with Riley's name on it. Not the group chat, not the dumb title I had given the three of us. A separate thread with a little heart next to her name that I had never seen before. My fingers went numb around the phone. The notification preview showed one line: "She's still mad at you about last week." Every part of me froze. Last week. My brain started flipping through arguments like files. My thumb hovered over the screen, not moving, while the rest of my body had already crossed a line. I know the decent answer here. I should have locked it and put it back. Instead, I tapped the notification and watched his messages open. The most recent line was from him. "She cooled off," it read. "We are okay now, I think." Under it, Riley had written, "Good, I told you it would blow over, she always calms down." My heart was pounding so loud I could hear it through the shower noise. My eyes darted over the little bubbles, greedy and terrified at the same time. This was their space, their version of us. I scrolled a bit higher and saw more. Riley, how bad did it get? Ethan, same pattern. She spirals, then apologizes, then plans a fix. Riley, you need me as your translator, I swear. Translator? The word hit in a slow, delayed way. My mouth actually went dry. I dug my nails into my palm to keep from hurling the phone into the couch. Some part of me was hunting for something worse, almost hoping to find something clearly unforgivable. That would have been easier than these small cuts. I swiped up again. There it was. From him, I am trying, like she asked. You are growing on me, I guess. I read it twice, 3 times, as if it would rearrange. You are growing on me. The same man who told me he did not trust her had typed that with his own thumbs. Riley had answered, told you, wives do not always know what is best for their husbands. There was a winking emoji after it, casual and smug. My vision narrowed for a second, like my head had too much pressure. I realized I had stopped breathing. I forced air back into my lungs and kept reading anyway. I wish I could claim I closed the app right then. I did not. Further up, there were messages from the game night. Riley, thanks for not biting my head off tonight. Ethan, you are less unbearable in smaller doses. Riley, wow, romance. He had replied, do not make this weird. Then, after a few blank minutes, another line. She really wanted us to click, I am doing what she asked. I stared at that sentence until the words lost shape. I am doing what she asked. Like I had pushed 2 magnets together and then left them on a table, daring them to snap into place. My thumb slipped and the thread jumped to the top, showing the contact page. Her name, the heart icon, a ringtone I did not recognize, custom. My head rang louder than whatever sound that setting held. Out in the hallway, the shower shut off. The sudden quiet punched through my trance. I jerked, almost dropping the phone. For half a second I pictured him walking in, seeing me hunched over his screen and asking exactly what I thought I was doing. I cleared the recent apps with frantic swipes and hit the lock button. The phone went dark in my hand. I set it back on the table exactly where it had been, like a bomb I was pretending had not gone off. My hands would not stop shaking. I moved around the room pretending to straighten things, listening to the water run from the sink now, every sound louder than it needed to be. I kept replaying the words translator and wives do not always know until they scraped. When Ethan walked out, towel slung around his neck, he glanced toward the table. Have you seen my phone? He asked. His hair dripped onto the floor. I forced my face into something bland. Over there, I answered, my voice came out raw, where you left it. He grabbed it without suspicion. His screen lit up and he checked it quickly, then tossed it into his pocket. No question in his eyes, no hint that he knew I had dug through his private thread. You okay? He asked, wiping his face. You look like you saw a ghost. The laugh that slipped out sounded wrong. Just tired, I said. Work fried my brain. I dropped onto the couch as casually as I could manage, every muscle stiff. He sat on the other end and pulled out the remote. As the show started, I stared at the side of his face and thought about him telling Riley I spiral, then apologize, then plan a fix. The part that made me sick was how accurate that felt. Halfway through the episode, my eyes drifted to his pocket where the phone rested. I kept picturing that heart by her name, that little mark I had never been given myself in his contacts. My thoughts bounced between fury and shame so fast I felt nauseous. At one point, a joke on the screen made him chuckle. He glanced over at me when I did not join in. You mad about earlier? He asked, or did I miss a memo? I snapped my gaze back to the TV. No, I lied, I am fine. The word tasted like cardboard. He frowned. You are doing that thing again, he muttered, going quiet and staring through me. I wanted to whip around and ask, do you say that to Riley too? Do you two have a whole manual about my patterns? Instead, I swallowed it. I have a headache, I replied. That is all. My leg bounced, giving me away. He paused the show. You want to talk, he offered, or do I leave you alone? There it was, an opening, my chance to throw those messages on the table and demand answers. I looked at his face, tired and oddly gentle in that moment, and I pulled back again. Nothing to talk about, I insisted. Really, I just need sleep. I reached for the blanket like that settled it. He watched me for a long beat, then hit play again. You always say you are fine, he murmured, until I hear the real story from someone else. That comment sliced through me in a way he did not even notice. Later, when he went to brush his teeth, his phone buzzed on the coffee table. My heart tripped. I glanced at the screen before I could stop myself. Riley again. A new line flashed in the preview. Did she calm down? Calm down from what? From what he saw in my posture tonight, from whatever version he had already given her. Every part of me tensed. I did not touch it this time. I listened to the toothbrush in the bathroom and the little vibration on the table, and I stayed frozen. He came back out and scooped it up. His thumb hovered, then flew across the screen. He typed something longer this time. I watched his shoulders loosen while he wrote like a weight shifted off him. Who is that? I asked, even though I knew. My voice came out too sharp. He glanced up, eyes flicking across my face. Nobody urgent, he replied. He pocketed the phone and bumped my foot with his. You going to bed? That word, nobody, for a second anger flared bright enough that I almost grabbed his pocket and ripped the phone away. My spine straightened. Yeah, I choked out, I am exhausted. I stood before the anger turned into actual words. In the bedroom, I lay on my back staring at the ceiling. I replayed every line I had read until they stuck like captions under everything he had ever said about her. You treat our fights like content. He had thrown that at me. Now I had seen proof that he was handing those same fights to her just through another lens. Him the weary partner, me the dramatic problem. I also have to admit this. He was not wrong about some of it. I saw my own habits in those texts like an ugly mirror. The part that hurt was that he felt safer pointing them out to her than to me. When he finally climbed into bed, the mattress dipped on his side. He lay on his back close enough that his arm brushed mine. You still upset? He asked. Into the dark. I turned onto my side away from him. Just tired, I repeated, big day. He touched my shoulder once, then let his hand fall back. Okay, he said softly, good night. I lay there completely awake while his breathing evened out. The phone glowed faintly on his nightstand when another message came in. He did not stir. I watched that light and imagined her words filling the silence between us. Back then, I told myself I was gathering information. That waiting made me smarter, more strategic, less reactive. Now I can admit I was scared to hear him confirm out loud what I had already read. I chose to pretend for a little longer instead, and that choice dragged everything that followed even lower. I dropped his phone on the table so hard it bounced once. Ethan flinched and looked up from his laptop. What are you doing? His hand moved toward the phone like I had slammed a weapon between us. I read it, I told him, my throat hurt already. All of it's you and Riley. The words came out tight and cold. His eyes flicked to the screen, then back to me. You went through my messages, his jaw clenched. Are you serious right now? You are really opening with that, I snapped. Privacy, that is your angle. My fingers pressed into the edge of the table until they ached. He stood, chair scraping the floor behind him. You grabbed my phone, you dug through my stuff, he shot back. What exactly did you expect to find? What I actually found, I said, pushing the phone toward him, was you talking about our marriage with someone I introduced into this house. My chest was hammering. You told her you needed a translator like I am some broken language. He winced for half a second before he caught himself. You are blowing this up, he muttered. We vented, people vent. Not like that, I fired back. Not with your own little pet name in her contacts and custom tones and hints about me when I am not there. I could hear my voice rising and I did not care. He dragged a hand over his face. I would not need anyone else if you actually listened when I talked, he threw out. Every time I try, you argue me into a corner, then you run to her and give her the highlight reel. That hit a raw spot. It still did not excuse what I had read. So instead of telling me that, I said, you built a secret chat and let her break down my mood swings for you. How is that better? It is not better, he answered, quieter now. It is the only thing that felt possible. He spread his hands in this helpless gesture that made me want to scream. You wanted her everywhere, you ignored every warning I gave, I did the one thing you kept pushing for. I stared at him. I pushed you to be civil, I corrected, not to turn her into your personal marriage coach who mocks me with you. His mouth opened, then shut. He looked at the phone like it might bite him. What exactly did you see? He asked, because I know you will fill in blanks with the worst version. I saw enough, I answered. You telling her I overreact, that I only calm down after I crash, that you appreciate having someone who gets it. My voice shook on that last part. You telling her she is growing on you. He swallowed hard. That is what happened, he said. She grew on me because you kept forcing her into my orbit. He held my stare. Do not act surprised that constant contact has consequences. The honesty in that made my stomach knot. I pushed through it. So do you like her now? I demanded, as more than just the person who listens when your wife annoys you. He looked away then. That was my answer before he spoke. I like that she did not treat me like the villain every time we argued, he said. I like that she heard my side without rolling her eyes. I never rolled my eyes at you, I shot back. I rolled my eyes at the way you stonewall and pretend nothing is wrong. I heard my own words and knew I was proving his point. He laughed once harsh. You hear yourself, he asked. You are doing it right now. This is why talking to you is like walking through a minefield. Something in me snapped. You turned to my best friend, I yelled, not a therapist, not your brother, her, the one person you knew I trusted the most. You built a team with her and left me out. He stepped closer, hands clenched at his sides. You made her part of every fight, he said. You dragged her name into every recap, you asked her opinion on things that had nothing to do with her, then you want me to treat her like a stranger. I blinked hard. That part was true. It still did not make his messages less ugly. There is a difference between me venting to my friend, I argued, and you sharing details with her about how to handle me like I am some project. I was drowning, he shot back. She threw me a rope. His voice cracked just slightly. You kept turning every issue into a jury trial with her already briefed on your side, so I grabbed the only person who would even hear mine. I stared at him, breathing fast. Did you two ever cross a line? I asked. Beyond talking, I want you to be very clear. He looked straight at me. Nothing happened, he said. We texted too much, we got too close, but nothing physical. He did not flinch when he said it. That bothered me most. You swear, I pressed, on everything you never touched her. His gaze flickered just for a heartbeat. I did not sleep with her, he answered. There was never an affair. He chose his words like each one weighed a ton. That is not what I asked, I whispered. You are dancing around the question. He exhaled slowly. There was one drunk almost moment, he admitted. After game night we stood too close on the sidewalk, it got weird, then she got in the car and left. His voice dropped lower. I went inside and slept on the couch because I hated myself. My stomach flipped. You never mentioned that, I said, not even as a problem we should fix. Because it terrified me, he answered. I did not want to make it real by speaking it, and I knew you would blame me for something you engineered. I laughed, sharp and bitter. So I engineered you nearly kissing her in front of our house. The words scraped my throat. That was my blueprint. You shoved us together every chance you got, he shot back. You begged for group chats and dinners and late nights. You told her every secret I had already trusted you with, then you left us alone and prayed we would become friends. I hated how much of that was true. I hated hearing it in his voice. Wanting you two to get along, I said, is not the same as wanting her to become your emotional safe place. He stared at the ceiling like he needed help from above. You were never going to hear this from me willingly, he said. You do not want truth, you want me to say exactly what keeps your picture intact. Silence sat between us for a few long seconds. I could hear the faint buzz of something outside, some normal life that did not match the wreck in front of me. So what now? I asked finally. You just keep chatting with her behind my back, you let her coach you on how to handle your difficult wife. His shoulders dropped. No, he answered. I blocked her last night. He looked at me when he said it. After you went to bed and I saw your face in the dark, I knew this had gone too far. The room tilted a little. You blocked her, I repeated, without me even asking. He nodded once. I told her we crossed a boundary, that we could not keep talking like that. His fingers drummed on the table. She did not take it well. My heart thudded against my ribs. What did she say? I asked. My voice was softer now, scared of the answer. He hesitated. She said you would overreact, he said, that you would make it into proof she was this homewrecker villain when really she was just picking up the slack where you left me alone. His mouth twisted. Her words, not mine. Hearing that lit something fierce in my chest. Where I left you alone, I repeated. I have slept next to you every night and you run to her and tell her I abandoned you. That is not what I told her, he snapped back. Do not put lines in my mouth. Then I will ask her myself, I said. My hand moved toward my own phone. If you two were so comfortable sorting my life through text, she can explain it to me directly. He rubbed his temple. I do not think that is a good idea, he muttered. She is not going to give you what you want. What I want is not a performance, I shot back. What I want is the truth. I grabbed my phone and scrolled until her name glared up at me. Do not do this while we are both angry, he warned. You will just feed off each other. His voice held real worry, which almost slowed me. Almost. I hit call. It rang long enough for my pulse to climb. Finally she picked up, her voice bright and oblivious. Hey you, she greeted me, what is up? We need to talk, I cut in, no preamble, my throat felt tight, and I need you to not play dumb for once. There was a pause. Okay, she said slowly. You sound intense, is everything all right? I read the messages, I told her, every word landed like a drop of acid. Between you and him, I saw what you two say about me when I am not looking. On the other end she sucked in a breath. You went through his phone, she answered. Wow, that is a choice. Rage flared hot. That is your first reaction, I snapped. Not sorry, not let me explain, just policing how I found the thing. Because snooping blows up trust, she replied. Paper rustled on her side like she was pacing. Look, I am not denying we talked. You vent to me, he vents to me, that is the role you shoved me into. No, I shot back. I vented to you, you slid into private calls with my husband and turned my marriage into your little project. That is not fair, she protested. You came to me crying more than once about him shutting down, you begged me to help you understand him, yo. You told me you needed someone in your corner. What exactly did you think was going to happen? I thought you would support me, I spat, not build your own bond with him behind my back. I was supporting you, she insisted. I told him to cut you some slack when you were stressed, I told him to stop snapping, I told him to actually tell you what was going on instead of sulking. You also told him wives do not always know what is best, I reminded her. You told him I would calm down like I am some predictable storm, you positioned yourself as the reasonable one. She went quiet for a second. Sometimes you are not reasonable, she said finally. Sometimes you fixate and he shuts down and you both miss each other completely. I was trying to bridge that gap. My eyes burned. You do not get to call yourself a bridge when you were also telling him I overreact and laugh about my patterns, I said. That is not neutral. You know you can be too much, she murmured. You have joked about it yourself. It is different when it comes out of your mouth to my husband, I whispered. You turned my insecurity into your inside joke. She sighed, long and annoyed. So what is the point of this call, she asked. Do you want me to grovel or do you want to actually fix anything? I want to know if anything happened, I replied, my voice steadied. Physically, I asked him, now I am asking you. You do not trust him, she asked. That is the real issue here. Answer the question, I said. I am done dancing around it. Silence stretched, heavy and loud. I could hear her breathing through the line. My own heartbeat pounded in my ears. She caved first. We kissed once, she said, the words dropped flat. Happy now. The room tilted. When? I asked, my hand clamped around the phone so hard it hurt. After that game night, she answered. At the curb when my ride pulled up, it was quick, it was stupid. She rushed the words now. We were both tipsy, we were talking close, it just kind of happened. I felt sick, kind of happened, I repeated. You kissed my husband outside my house. He kissed me too, she shot back. Do not rewrite this like I overpowered him in your driveway. My knees went weak, I grabbed the back of a chair to stay upright. Did you tell him you regret it, I asked, or did you file it away as a fun little secret? It freaked him out, she admitted. He pulled back, he said it was wrong, he basically bolted. I texted later and told him not to panic, that it did not have to mean anything. So you decided for him that it meant nothing, I said, every word shook. You decided for me too. You asked for us to get close, she reminded me. You left us there alone, you insisted we keep trying, you do not get to act shocked, that line's blurred. I asked for friendship, I yelled, not for you to test drive my marriage. On the couch, Ethan watched me with this hollow look, hearing my side of the call. He did not try to grab the phone, that almost made me angrier. You know what hurts the most, I said into the line. You knew exactly how insecure I was about your presence, and you still stepped toward him instead of away. I am not the only one who stepped, she snapped. He leaned in too, he messaged me after, he kept talking because he needed someone and you were too busy trying to control the optics of your perfect life. I closed my eyes. If you cared about me at all, I said quietly, you would have told me the second it happened. If I had told you, she answered, you would have cut me off and stayed with him, and he would have spun it like I came on to him. Her voice shook for the first time. I refuse to be the disposable friend who gets tossed so your marriage looks clean again. That line lodged in my chest, disposable friend. I could hear the bruised ego under the arrogance. You made yourself disposable the second you touched him, I said. You did not protect me, you protected your access to him. She scoffed. Believe whatever makes it easier to sleep, she replied. You built this triangle and now you are mad the angles do not line up the way you imagined. The call cut a second later, she hung up on me. I lowered the phone slowly, fingers numb. My whole body buzzed like it had been slammed into a wall. Across the room, Ethan spoke first. She told you, he asked, his voice sounded wrecked. She told me enough, I answered. I did not look at him. One kiss she called stupid, one moment you both decided I did not deserve to know about. He stepped closer and stopped halfway like an invisible line held him back. It was wrong, he said. I have not stopped thinking about how wrong it was. That does not make it smaller, I replied. Calling it stupid does not shrink it down. He opened his mouth, closed it again, and then just sank onto the chair like his legs gave out. In that moment I realized something ugly. I was not the unsullied victim I wanted to be, I had dragged them into the same orbit and ignored warning after warning because it made my life easier. I still stared at them, one on a screen and one in front of me, and all I could think was that I had finally gotten what I begged for. They were close now. Too close. I blocked her while Ethan was still in the room. My thumb hovered over the option for a second, then I hit it. Block contact. The confirmation popped up and I tapped yes before I could talk myself out of it. Ethan watched my face. What did you just do? He asked. His voice sounded drained, not angry yet. I cut her off, I answered. My hands were shaking again. She cannot reach me anymore. He stared at my phone like it might explode. That is your decision, he said. His shoulders sagged. You sure you want to make it in this state? I am sure, I said. My chest felt hollow and burning at the same time. She kissed you, she hid it, then she told me it was my fault for putting her near you. We are done. He dragged a hand over his mouth. You know she is going to spin that, he muttered, to anyone who listens. I cannot control her story, I replied. I can only control who has access to me. The words felt rehearsed and raw at once. He sank back into the chair. What about us? He asked. What does blocking her mean for us? I looked at him and felt something twist. I do not know yet, I admitted. I just know nothing changes if she stays in the middle. Silence stretched out long enough that I started counting my own breaths. He finally broke it. I will pack a bag, he said. Stay with my brother for a while. He pushed to his feet like he had aged 10 years in an hour. That was fast, I shot back. The bitterness surprised even me. You do not want to try and fix anything before you run. He stopped halfway to the hallway. You just found out I crossed a line with your closest friend, he answered. Do you really want me in your bed tonight? The bluntness hit like a slap. No, I admitted quietly, I do not. The truth sat heavy between us. He nodded once, then space is the least I can give you. He headed toward the bedroom, leaving me alone with the ugly quiet. I should have chased him down that hallway and laid out conditions. I should have laid into him again. Instead, I grabbed my phone and opened the last thread from Riley, the one he had not seen. Her final messages sat there like a stain. I told you she would blow this up. She lives for drama. She will forgive you if you grovel. She will never forgive me. Do not back out now. If you crawl back, you prove you are as weak as she says. I grabbed the thread with shaking hands and sent it to Ethan. His phone chimed in the next room. Another second passed, then another. Finally, he walked back out holding his screen like it weighed a ton. She called me weak, he said. His face looked stunned in a way I had not seen before. She actually wrote that. She also called me dramatic, I replied, right after admitting to the kiss. Saying it out loud still felt like swallowing glass. He lowered himself onto the couch again. I thought she was on my side, he said slowly. Turns out she was on nobody's side but her own. A bitter laugh escaped me. Welcome to my side of the friendship, I said. Took you long enough. He flinched at that. I am not asking for pity, he muttered. I needed to see it with my own eyes, I guess. You needed her to insult you, I asked. That was the line for you. Yes, he answered, no hesitation. Because up until then I could tell myself she cared about both of us in her messed up way. This is not care. He lifted the phone like proof. We sat there in a standstill, each holding a different shard of the mess, not sure where to put any of them. I do not know if I want a divorce, I said finally. The word came out thin and shaky. I also do not know if I can look at you without seeing that curb. His eyes closed for a heartbeat. I understand, he said. I am not going to argue that I deserve to stay. I do not. He opened them again. I still want to fight for this though, even if that sounds pathetic. It does not sound pathetic, I said, and hated that it was true. It sounds late. He nodded. So we start late, he replied, or we do not start at all. That choice is yours. That should have felt like power. It felt like pressure instead. I cannot decide everything tonight, I said, my fingers dug into the couch cushion. But I can decide this. You are sleeping somewhere else for now, and if we try again, we do it with help. Help, he repeated. You mean therapy? Yes, I answered, real therapy, not Riley playing armchair counselor in a group chat. My throat burned as I said her name. He watched me for a long beat. If you set it up, I will show up, he said. I swear, no complaining, no rolling my eyes in the car. You mean it, I asked. I hated how hopeful I sounded. He nodded. I mean it, he said. It is either that or a lawyer and I am not ready for that. I leaned back, exhausted. Me neither, I admitted, but we are closer than I ever thought we would be. He pushed up from the couch. I will call my brother, he murmured. See if he has a couch free. He walked toward the bedroom again, slower this time. I listened to drawers open and close, the sound of hangers bumping together, the tiny everyday sounds of someone building a temporary exit. When he came back through the living room with a small bag, he paused near the door. I am sorry, he said, his voice cracked, not just for the kiss, for every time I let her into conversations that belonged to us. My eyes stung. I am sorry too, I replied, for forcing you into her orbit and ignoring your instincts. The words tasted bitter and true. He studied my face like he wanted to memorize it. I will text when I get there, he said. His hand hovered near my shoulder, then dropped. If you change your mind about anything, tell me. I will, I said. I did not know if that was a promise or an excuse. The door clicked shut behind him. The house sank into a kind of stillness I had not felt since before I got married. It was not peaceful, it was heavy and echoing. I stayed on the couch and opened a blank note on my phone. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard, then started moving. If we do this, I wrote, we both go into that room ready to admit we screwed up. I stared at the sentence, deleted it, rewrote it. My brain had already jumped ahead to a therapist's office, to some stranger asking when the problems started and me trying to explain that the first punch came from inside my own mind. The next morning I made the call. My voice shook when the receptionist answered. I am looking for couples counseling, I said. We are in a bad place. I gave our names, our availability, every detail they asked for. I felt like I was booking a surgery. As soon as I hung up, I texted Ethan. Appointment next Tuesday at 6, I wrote. If you do not show up, that is my answer. He replied faster than I expected. I will be there, his message read. Thank you for giving me the chance. I stared at thank you until my throat tightened again. People do not tell you how humiliating it is to have to thank your partner for not giving up on you completely. When Tuesday came, we walked into that office like two people trying to carry a cracked statue between them. Careful, stiff, not looking at each other too long. The therapist asked for the story. I opened my mouth ready to tell it from the victim angle, then stopped. I pushed him, I said instead. From the start, I kept putting him in situations with my friend even after he said he was uncomfortable. I wanted them both and I refused to choose, and I ignored every sign that it was hurting us. Ethan's head turned toward me, eyes wide. He had expected me to lead with the kiss. I had expected that too, honestly. The therapist nodded slowly. And how did that feel on your side? She asked him. He swallowed. Like I was not allowed to have boundaries, he answered. Like my only choices were be the good sport or be the jealous jerk, so I did what she wanted and resented her for it. I flinched. He kept going. And instead of telling her I was drowning, he added, I let her friend become my pressure valve, which was unfair to both of them, and then I crossed a line I cannot uncross. He did not say the word kiss. He did not need to. It hung in the air anyway. We spent the whole hour peeling back layers like that. Every time I tried to minimize my part, the therapist gently pushed. Every time he tried to blame Riley entirely, she nudged him back to his own choices. I walked out feeling raw and exposed, not healed. But for the first time in months, I felt like we were actually talking about the same reality. We went back the next week, and the next. It did not magically erase anything. I still pictured them at the curb when I closed my eyes. He still stiffened whenever I mentioned any friend's name in a text. At home, his side of the closet stayed partly empty. For a while, he came over for dinner twice a week, then headed back to his brother S. We sat at the table and discussed little things and big things. No group chats, no third person on speaker, just us and the heavy air. One night after a session, I pulled up my old messages with Riley. I scrolled through years of inside jokes, emergency calls, late-night pep talks. It felt like watching someone else's life. Part of me missed her. I am not proud of that. I missed having someone who picked up on the first ring when I was spiraling. I missed dropping dramatic texts and getting dramatic reactions. I missed feeling like a priority to someone who was not tied to me by vows. But then I would hit a line where she dissected my marriage like a puzzle, or one where she hinted that she knew him better now. Those snapped the nostalgia in half. I never unblocked her. She tried new numbers a few times, sh. Ort messages with no introduction. You ready to talk like adults yet? You really letting him rewrite history without me there? I ignored every single one until they stopped. Eventually, Ethan moved a few things back into the house, a couple of shirts, his laptop, a jacket. He still slept at his brother's though. I am not ready to come home yet, he told me one night on the porch. Not because I do not want to, but because I do not deserve comfortable until we are actually steady. You sound like you are punishing yourself, I replied. The air between us felt strange and careful. I am giving you room to breathe, he answered. You jump every time my phone lights up. I get it. I want to rebuild something, not force us into pretending. The fact that he got it mattered more than I wanted to admit. Months blurred like that, therapy, work, quiet evenings alone, my life shrank down to a small loop. One afternoon, I ended up on Reddit out of pure boredom, scrolling through relationship posts, reading strangers' disasters, judging from my couch. I stopped at a title that hit too close. My partner's best friend crossed a line after I never liked him. I read every comment, every argument. Half the people yelled, "Leave." The other half yelled, "Take responsibility for staying." It felt like reading all the voices already fighting inside my own skull. I closed the app, opened it again. My fingers hovered over the Create Post button for a full minute. Then I clicked it. The screen switched to that blank title line and my brain went silent for the first time in days. My husband never liked my best friend, I typed, and I pushed him to try harder to be close with her. I stopped, looked at the words, backspaced never liked and wrote never trusted instead. That felt more accurate and more painful. In the body, I started typing the facts. No fluff, no flattering details. I insisted on group chats. I forced dinners. I ignored every time he told me she was stirring things up. I confided in her about our fights, then I found out she and my husband had their own private chat, their own inside jokes, and one drunk kiss outside our house. My hands were shaking, but the words kept coming. I am angry and hurt and grossed out, I wrote, but I also know I built the stage for this mess. If I had listened earlier, if I had protected my marriage instead of trying to merge every part of my life, maybe we would not be here. I told them he moved out. I told them we started counseling. I did not make him into a monster. I did not make myself into a saint. I tried very hard not to turn Riley into a cartoon villain, even though I wanted to. I guess my question is, I typed at the end, did I basically ruin my own marriage by forcing my husband and my best friend together, or is there a version of this where we are both responsible for different parts of the crash? My thumb hovered over the post button. For a second, I imagined the comments. People telling me to kick him out for good, people telling me to forgive, people telling me I deserved it, people saying the one thing I had not thought yet. Then I hit post. The little spinning icon showed it sending. When it disappeared, my story sat there in black and white, out where strangers could poke at it. I set the phone down and stared at the wall. For the first time since all this started, it hit me that I was not asking the internet if he was the villain or if she was the worst. I was really asking if there was any world where I could forgive myself for lighting the match and then acting surprised when everything caught fire.